If you've ever played around with tubes, you know exactly what happened there. We tore the valve stem. So today I thought I'd bring you guys along, show you how I vulcanize new valve stems onto tubes. Let's do it. This tire has been inflated, sitting here for almost 20 years. And I came out today, heard a light hissing, finally let go, but it didn't go flat yet. So it goes in this beautiful, look how much tread's on that bias ply. So we need it to hold air so we can roll the truck and move the truck around. So I went through my spare tubes, and I don't have a truck tube valve stem. They're the same size as the bicycle tube ones. The trucks just have a little bit more rubber around them. So, but we can add more rubber. We can build that up ourselves. So this is just out of just a small little kid's bike. We're just going to cut the valve stem out. We'll cut that up to the size we need, and we're going to take this valve stem right here, and we're just going to cut that off, plug up that hole, and put a new hole over here. So I'm going to show you just adding one. This is just plugging a hole. So I guess let's just add it. A little bit of rusty right there from the rim sticking to it. Just going to add it about right here. This is a buffing wheel for tires. It's just a really coarse, probably like 24 grit sandpaper. New rubber will not stick to rubber it forms a natural skin, so we got to go down to the raw. Cut the new hole. And since this isn't a new part, this is also a used part, we have to grind down to original rubber, raw rubber. This is called cushion gum, raw rubber, uncured rubber. So rubber before it's cured is kind of like chewing gum, where it never really solidifies, but it can break if you rip it. But once it solidifies under heat and pressure, it turns into the rubber as we know it. So here's just a strip of it. We're going to need some of this. And this is what will bond. This is what you patch with. This bonds old rubber to new rubber and makes a patch or whatever you want. Okay? Take off a piece. This right here, vulcanizing glue, is just this stuff dissolved in gasoline. So you take about half and half gasoline. You just mix it up until it's about right. It takes about a day or two to mix up just into like a goopy liquid. It's not really a glue as much as it just gets into the fine areas on the surface and allows this stuff to kind of bite in a little bit better is all. There's no sticking power to it, I guess I'm going to say. Let that just flash off dry for a second. Okay, we're going to take our raw cushion gum and we are just going to, I'm going to get my tool. This is just like a little roller. I'm just smashing it in. Just want to make sure there's no air pockets. Okay, that's going to bond this to this, and it's going to ooze out everywhere. I might put just a little bit more around the edges. You want to make sure the hole, you don't seal up your hole. You can kind of drill through it afterwards if you do, but okay. Now because this valve stem is a fair amount thinner, I also ground the top of this. And we're going to add rubber around here to reinforce it. There you go. Get the idea. Okay, so I built up all the way around there. Now it's the next step. It doesn't have to be perfect because it'll just ooze out everywhere. These are custom tools that you can't buy. This is just a 3/8 plate that I drilled a large hole in and kind of tapered it in, and then it is dished out probably almost an 1/8 of an inch. So if you ever notice a valve stem, it's kind of built up around it. If you made it flat, it would flatten that out too thin. So this is going to clamp essentially right here, and then there's going to be a backing clamp. I'll show you the rest of the tools. There are my other tire videos, but now we have a little bit wider. This is just something, I think this actually comes off a bicycle. So essentially just a washer. And that'll just give something for that to form on. And then this is just a cap that's exactly the same size as the valve stem, so nothing kind of oozes out. If you just left it like this, it would just all ooze out of there. And wherever it oozes out, it's not under pressure, and it doesn't actually form anything. And then this, I played around with a bunch of different methods with this, but you have to hold the valve stem down, and the easiest way I found was actually to take this in my clamp system and just wedge rags in there as tight as I can, and that holds that pressure down on that. So this is the vulcanizing machine. If you've watched my other videos on repairing like sidewall gashes and stuff in tires, you've seen this. There are two heating elements, a top and a bottom. We don't need the bottom for this, so we're going to just take that out. Set that aside. We just need one side because the tube's so thin. We don't need all these. They come with these curved plates and stuff to match the curve of a tire. Got a couple washers sitting in the back just to take up some space. Got my rag. I wedge that in there. Without the rag, the valve stem just falls down in. That might be too much washers. It just holds that valve stem steady. I did it once, and I think the valve stem kind of even angled off to a side. But then I just did the rag and it worked, so I just kind of stuck around with that. Okay. We've got that all situated. Take this, flip it over. Got the valve stem right there. Put it down into the center of that. And you do heat through the other tube to distribute some of the heat a little bit. We'll put just another little chunk of tube in there. No particular reason why, it's just because that's what I see third world country guys doing. So they do this, so that's who I learned from. So there must be something to it. It might just help, you know, so sharp edges don't actually cut the tube. Make sure everything is positioned. This doesn't take very long. It only takes like 20 minutes on this baking thing. Make sure everything looks centered. And we actually give it a fair amount of force. That should be good. It's all in there. So we just knock this to about 20 minutes. I'll plug it in. It's not even plugged in. And that'll heat this up. We'll put just like a welding glove around there, just to keep the heat in there. It is done. Hot as a dickens. Might give it a while to cool down. You can see, ow, that's hot. I just touched it with my arm. It's so hot. It's like 300 and, what is it? I wrote it on there. It's almost 400 degrees is what it cooks at, 375. You can see that it tried to ooze out around the top right there. When it doesn't have pressure and just heat, this is the same like cushion gun stuff. It's not cured at all. Push on the valve stem. There we go. Some of this edges where it oozed out underneath, I'll just sand that off because that's not cured, but the rest of this should all be cured. Make sure it didn't stick to the bottom. See, it didn't stick all the way through. You'd think that it would stick all the way through, but because I didn't sand the inside rubber, it doesn't. Now if I spent more time, see, I got a little bit of a step there or the steel and then the washer. If I spent more time, I could make a more refined, but it's not that crucial. Up at the very top, just the last 16th of an inch, that's probably not cured all the way. There wasn't enough pressure. The rest of it's all cured. And that is on there. I did plug up the hole. That happens sometimes. So you just run a drill bit down through it and just run it through. The cushion gum just kind of melts in there and blocks up the hole. Now somebody will ask, like, why didn't you just try to fix the old one? It's just easier to start in a new hole. It really is. So let's get all my stuff. I mean, you could sit here and play around with this right here, but it's just easier to start a brand new hole. Throw it in the heat press for 10 minutes and it'll be done. Now this is, but it also isn't an exact science. If somebody wanted to, you could just do this by hand. Like, you could just take 2 metal plates, clamp them together, and heat them up. You know, to around, these heat up to 375 degrees. And it needs to be there for roughly 20 minutes. You could just sit there with a blowtorch and just heat it up. You could take like in third world countries, they just take like an iron, like you iron clothes with, and you just figure out what temperature it is when it hits that 375, and you just plug that in. And a lot of the machines they have to just do tube repairs like this are just an iron. They just take off the plastic handle and stuff and just mount it in a clamp system like this. Nothing fancy, you know, but I think this machine was only like 80 bucks, so it wasn't worth the I guess the effort to come up with this long a clamp and stuff like that. The heating mechanism would be pretty easy, but so I just thought I'd mention this. So this is like a little scrap that I didn't use. Instead of putting it back, because you keep this stuff in the freezer so it lasts longer. Instead of just putting it back in the freezer, that's where I just add to this every once in a while, you know. And it doesn't matter how thick it is, so I'll just drop that in there, and the next time I use it, it'll be ready to go. It'll be all dissolved. You know, and if I need to add a little bit of gas every once in a while, I'll just add a splash of, usually I use ethanol-free gas, so there's no alcohol in it. Throw a little ethanol-free gas in there, and we're good. That's it. Still a little warm. You see it didn't stick to the edges where it didn't grind. That's fine, I'll grind it all down. It's stuck all the way where I wanted it to. But anywhere where you don't treat the surface, like grind it, it doesn't actually stick. So yeah, we'll just buff it back to that point. I'll just cut that off. So, not a big deal. And that is literally one piece of rubber right now. That is never going to fail. That's not good. You know, these days you get these patches. You just put them on. You can leave them on there for a week. If you get under the edge of it, you can just sit there and just peel it right off. There is no good patches except for there's the Rima Tip Top that I've talked about in other videos before. They're probably the best patches, but they're not cheap either. And one thing I find about these this rubber too, these patches, is they stretch more naturally versus patches that you put on. Tube grabber. Hook that on first. Saves you a lot of grief. Stretch it around the rim. Funny, I was trying to get that weight to stay where it was, but it spun around on me. Okay, let's inflate it. 45. Looks like a valve stem. Okay. Tire holds air. There we go. 1984, I believe that tire is. Now it can go back to being just a roller. So the truck can move around. You the Michelin man? Look at me. Come here. You don't know what to do? Come here. Can you even see? What, people shouldn't dress up their dogs? That's weird. Come here, I'll take it off. Come here. I'll take it off. You're a good sport. Come here. Come here. Hey, it's not even on there. What do you think? Michelin man or no? Yeah, you're happy about that.